All right, 6 o'clock. I'd like to call our regular village board meeting to order. Please rise to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll. Here.
Trustee Hudson?
Here.
Trustee Maravka? Here. Trustee Richards? Here. Trustee Sandberg?
Here.
Trustee Sluse?
Here.
Trustee Sturba?
Here.
All right, public comments.
Good evening, Ed Nelson, Peatone Historical Society. I was doing some research, and at a village meeting back in August 10th, 2015, there was a request by Steve Hopperman at that time. He was with the Historical Society, asking for money for repairs, $5,000, and they approved it. So there's been some question lately, is the mill in the budget for any money? I mean, I know we were normally getting $5,000 if we spent the money on repairs. But I want to make sure it's either in there, or do I have to request money at the beginning of each year for projects?
Yeah, in the past it was, we just put a line item in there for $5,000. To be honest with you, there's nothing in there right now. I mean, we could, we haven't passed the budget yet, we could put that in there. But my thought is, that we were gonna kind of get together and kind of decide like what exactly needs to be done out there. I think come up with a plan for raising the money, or, using village, taxpayers' money, so. But in the future, I mean, if you do have something needs to be done, I would, bring it to Nick, and
We'll bring it up.
then
Just in case I'm gone and present board is not here,
Right.
it's there so people going forward know.
yeah,
And with prices the way they are, 5,000 isn't that much anymore. If we could think about maybe raising it, or I don't know, like a special type expenditure if we need to go over the
right.
5,000.
And that's why I think we need to come together and figure out a plan, because even 10,000 a year isn't gonna do it, so
Fix
we
it,
gotta
right.
figure out a way to
Okay.
raise more money, and, yeah, we just gotta come up with a plan. I didn't think it was, I don't wanna say, just putting 5,000 in there, I mean, it's like a drop in the bucket, so.
We
let's-
leveled the bricks the one year out in the front, and it wasn't even the whole thing, and it was $1,400, so.
Yeah, so,
And then some other woodwork went fast.
so I wanna,
But I came across this.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let's
yeah.
see if we can't get something in writing for future,
Mhm.
in the budget for
Okay,
people. That's it. Otherwise,
Thank
we're
you.
gearing up for this summer.
Great, sounds
All right.
good.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I got something to say. As far as I'm concerned, that old mill, like a lot of old corn cribs and old buildings that I tore down over the years, it cost too much to save it. But I want to comment about the water, and I voted religiously since 1976. We voted that water down. And it's just like buying that junk building on Ratchy Road. And when Gary Bickle was taking care of the police cars years ago when he was alive, and I moved to the Clip Farmhouse in 1990, 31560 South Ratchy Road. My dad was born in that house, that 80 acres. It's not in the family anymore, but it was in the family since 1871. The Howard, and then it got into the Clip family through marriage. But what are we gonna do with these water bills? Our water bill is higher than where our gas and electric is. And I wanna know, and I had 5 friends, of course Ken Hommeister of Ken's Water Service is the last one of my 5 friends that died now, of old age, everybody's gonna get that. Why didn't we put a water tower by Pearl Dodge and hook up to that 20-inch irrigation well? I mean, they pumped water, Hoop Sod Farm pumped water out of that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and it was soft water. Instead, we're getting that slop out of the river, and the it was 1,300,000. I was leased to M&D Transfer Hall and Chemical. I was 3 blocks away from St. Jude Hospital, and I hauled Valspar paint and everything, but Mason Chemical in Joliet, you get off at Larkin Avenue, go north by the mall, and then come back to 53. Instead of going to the college, you go back. And like the guy at Mason Chemical told me, he says, this has made me rich. But none of these chemicals, if I took this water out of our faucet and took it to a dairy farmer that's, you know, inspecting water, you wouldn't be able to milk cows. Our water, so I washed up today because I hauled corn today, I'm dusty. This water, there's chemical in it, it burns your eyes. And I got a friend east of Beecher that I've known since the day he was born. I've been drinking water. His dad used to milk cows. He was in World War II. The water in the milk house, you can wash your eyes out in it, and it, you know, we made a big deal of taking asbestos out. When I worked at Beecher School from 85 to 93 when I quit, and I drove bus, and all the old part of that school, I re-insulated the pipes. And of course, they got the brainstorm, and I know the contractor had added on, and they did put sprinkler system in, and didn't put, you either got to heat the pipes or you got to charge it with antifreeze. They flooded the schools, which was their own fault. And I mean, I'm glad it's just, I'm an old fuddy-duddy even living with my mom and dad. And my mom and dad got, you know, my dad's got Alzheimer's. You know how bad a shape he's in. You do dentist work on him, and you did a good job of pulling 13 teeth out of my mouth all at the same time. Thank God they're all gone.
Your 3 minutes is about up. You have anything
But-
besides?
Yeah, I got something to say.
Yeah.
My daughter's been married for 13 years, and the year of her senior on Christmas Day, and I'll never hear the truth, and I told Jerry Wicker, and I don't know if you were on the board or not, but the lady that used to own that restaurant, I had $2,700 damage to my daughter's car, and me and my daughter chased that money for 3 months. Now, when I owned my own truck, I had $3 million of insurance, and Dan Lesage had $3 million of insurance. And some of them loads, it was all livestock drugs that I took to a underground stone quarry that they used for a warehouse by Keokuk, Iowa. It wouldn't have covered it. But I mean, I've been a farmer, and Lloyd Collins, when he ran the machine shop my freshman year of high school, he made a shaft for the first combine I had, and just the way we're wasting money. And they fixed 3rd Street, and it's worse than the old Cement Street was. And it's only been done 22 years ago. And I know the story because I worked for Washington Township when I was in high school, and you got to get everything bids, and we got to do it the cheapest way. And like Clarence always says, you give a architect $100,000, and he couldn't figure out anything most of the time anyway. But there's a lot of people in this town who are disgusted with the way, since 1964, I've watched this town get destroyed. I mean, I'd rather have a Culver's and hardware store and keep the money here, because I like saving money and not chasing. You run 3,600 miles a week like I did since I quit farming, you get tired of driving. And I don't care where my tax money goes when I go to the hardware store, or, you know. But you're not going to keep businesses when you tell everybody no. When Wallace Stolzenbach, when we wanted to build a house, my junior year, we had to paint a sign. He owned 5 acres there, and the old shop is a liquor store. We went to Gleaner, painted a sign, and we put for sale on it, colored people welcome, and that's in the township, that's not in the village. So,
All right, well,
the only thing I can
Thank
tell you
you.
is good luck.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anything else?
Nelson, citizen of Peatone. Water bills. Yep, water bills went up, right? November, December. Mine was $27 a month before then. That's crazy. Crazy good, I loved it. Now it went up just under 100. Prices are up everywhere on everything. If you ask people in other cities and towns what they pay for water, it's equal or more. to what we're paying. Yeah, it's a big shock. We tripled, some almost quadrupled. Some have found out that they had little leaks in their toilets or whatever and wasting water, but we'd all like prices to be back down again. But we know why it went up, because we're paying $27 a month or $50 a month for how many years? And then back in 2018 or 2019, it was supposed to switch over, and then COVID happened, and then the delays because of University Park. So we got 4 years of cheap prices. We were pretty lucky. But yeah, prices are up everywhere. People need to look at other towns, not just Aqua towns.
Thank you.
I think that's good.
Anybody else? All right, moving on to consent agenda. We've got the minutes from the February 24th, 2025 regular village board meeting. Approve the payroll, accounts payable. The payroll for the period ending March 1st, total of $69,113.36. Accounts payable for the pay period ending March 7th, 2025, the general fund, $78,512.69, motor fuel tax fund, $2,861.56, for a total of $81,374.25. We also have a raffle license from the American Catholic Press for a Queen of Hearts raffle for Hanson's Dugout on 210 North 2nd Street, Peatone. Any of those items, any trustees take out of the consent agenda?
I just have one question about I think it's for the Hanson's Dugout. Do you know what the organization is for? It says for our nonprofit organization. I don't know what it's for, just curious.
I mean, it's listed as our Catholic Press, right?
Oh, is it for the bookstore then?
I think it is, I think when I looked it up, I think it is a bookstore or some kind of.
Okay,
Yeah, it says Family Bookstore, ACP.
okay. I was just wondering if it was,
Yeah, so it's
just
for a
wanted to know what it was
nonprofit.
for. Okay.
Anything else? Not, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Moved by trustee Maravka, second by trustee Hudson.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Maravka?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Sturba?
Yes.
All right, on to standing committee reports. We had an AOC meeting just a week or so ago. Anything to report?
I think didn't we make a report on that
Was
already?
it? I couldn't remember if it was after the last one or not.
Yeah, well, basically, I think the presentation tonight is
Right.
pretty much the same as what we had,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Sounds good.
We had a presentation.
Yeah, okay.
It was on Tuesday, the day after,
Yeah,
yep.
okay. Any other staff, chief, you got anything?
No, sir.
You got anything?
Just real quick, at the last meeting we talked about, we've posted for our public works position, that is available online. The applicants can download the application, and if they want to submit a resume, they can do that. I know there was some question about what we're paying, and I just remind people this is covered by a collective bargaining agreement, which was negotiated with the village and the union. We did increase that amount more recently, and I'm not gonna say that it's where we have to be. We can go up further, but I, you know, the one thing, nobody likes to hear this as an employee, but it's like there's a total compensation cost of what salaries are plus our benefits are very good here, and that's a positive for applicants. So if people are watching and are interested, don't just look at the salary, but also look at the benefits, because those are very good. And if you have a family, that's very helpful. So, so that's that. We're gonna talk about the other things in the agenda, so I'll just wait. That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Troy, do you have anything specific?
Yeah, just a couple quick updates. The streetscape, I didn't get a whole lot of detail, but they said they might, Iroquois paving might start the punch list work this week,
Oh, good.
start doing fixes. And then on 88th Avenue, it sounds like deconstruction's gonna start working on the sidewalk and the grading, next week. That's what they told us, so we're starting to do some layout for that this week.
Perfect. All right, I don't think there's any other reports. I don't have any comments, there's no old business, new business. Item D, review fiscal year '26 draft budget. So this is another opportunity to look at the budget. This is kind of our final draft. I also want to compliment the staff and the trustees, the AOC committee, everybody who had a hand in this. I think it's, everybody's put together a nice budget. Our fund balance for the general fund is gonna, we budgeted for a positive amount, which is something we haven't done in the last couple of years. So without further ado, Anne Marie, you wanna present?
Hello. So this is the second meeting on the budget, as you kind of here too. I'm just gonna kind of go through what we went through at the AOC meeting, just so everybody kind of hears the same thing. I'll go through it quickly. If you have any questions, interrupt, and me or Nick or the mayor or whatever can answer your questions. So if you wanna just flip. So just some guidelines, we do have a fund balance policy. We try to keep 30% of operating expenditures in our general fund at all times. We're well above that amount with the budget that we are proposing. We did find today a little bit more than the $4,000, $4,700 that's listed there. We actually are gonna have an increase in fund balance of about $103,000 because we found that we budgeted for an additional patrol position that's not going to be in the 2026 budget. So that's good news. The mayor actually helped us figure that one out. Revenues are budgeted pretty conservatively, as always. We base a lot of them on the IML estimates that are published each year. That's the Illinois Municipal League. They do all the research, they see the trends, they work with the state, and they come up with per capita rates, and we usually use those every year to calculate revenues in the general fund. Travel center revenues continue to go up. I think our amount is even gonna be a little bit higher than that based upon the receipts that we've gotten in the last couple months, so if that continues, those travel center revenues should be a decent source of revenue for the year. ARPA revenues are reflected in next year's budget for the Conrad Street Storm Sewer Project. So we'll collect those from Will County. They're the ARPA funds that were allocated to the county that are then designated for us. And then incremental revenues in the TIF2 fund, which is where the truck stop is, should be increasing significantly over the next year due to the reassessment of that property. It's still just a partial assessment until the project is 100% complete, so hopefully the incremental revenue will go up even more. Any questions on that? Capital spending, if it's required within a department, if it's related to operating expenses, it's pretty much budgeted in the general fund. All other capital is budgeted in our CIP fund. We have a decently robust capital plan this year. Total spending being about $1.2 million. $880,000 of that is that Conrad project that is funded by ARPA funds, so it's an external funding source for us, which is awesome. And then the Crawford Street paving is funded by the motor fuel tax that we receive from the state each year. The 26 budget reflects a recommended contribution to the police pension fund of about $435,000. That is a little bit more than last year, but it's based upon an actuarial valuation that takes into account salaries, contributions, market returns, pension payments, and kind of wraps it all together. Our funding though for the police pension fund continues to increase, which is awesome. It looks like about, a little while ago, 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, we were way down in the 20s and now we're up in the 50s. So that's a very decent funding level for a small municipal police pension fund. I did touch on revenues for the general fund in the previous slide. This just kind of gives you a breakdown of where our revenues come from. The classifications that you see listed there are kind of the accounting standard classifications that we use in our audit. We take a very conservative approach, use the IML rates. Property taxes are included in here as well as our locally assessed utility taxes. We've got interest income in there, which is a fairly significant amount for next year. I believe we budgeted about $300,000 for interest income, which is a nice chunk of change for the general fund. I'm just gonna keep going. Expenditures are broken down for the general fund by type. Obviously, the biggest portion of our spending is personal services, and that does include salaries, overtime, health insurance, pension payments, FICA, Medicare. So that's all wrapped into the same piece of pie. Salary adjustments for non-union employees, or for union employees as per the contract, non-union employees was 3%, and that included the part-time police personnel. Our IMRF contribution rate did increase from the prior year, mostly due to market returns and a couple of assumption changes that the actuary made when doing the IMRF actuarial. So our rate, we contribute 3.43% of each IMRF employee salary to IMRF. And then the capital outlay portion in here in the general fund is a pickup truck for the Public Works Department. Other funds of the village, obviously the general fund is our biggest fund, that's our main operating fund, that's where the majority of our spending takes place. But we have our CIP fund, I already touched on those two projects, they are accounted for in that fund. The funding source for that fund is usually motor fuel tax, or external grants that we receive. We've got the business development fund that is funded by the 1% sales tax, as well as with the new hotel coming on, we'll be getting a small amount of hotel tax in that fund also. Got a couple things budgeted in that fund, the facade program and directional signs for downtown. TIF 1 fund is one of our TIF funds, obviously, facade program and the village hall remodels budgeted in there. And then the TIF 2 fund has the principal and interest on the bonds that we issued for the 88th Avenue project. And that's pretty much the only expenditure of that fund for the year. And that is covered by the incremental property taxes that we're gonna be receiving. We distributed the document to you guys that includes the full budget. The front pages of it are pretty much summary pages that kind of bring the budget all together. And then the back pages contain the detail of each of the operating departments of the general fund, as well as budgets of the other funds. This document here is gonna be made available for public inspection beginning tomorrow. I left a copy at the front desk, and Diane's gonna put it out. So the public will be able to come in and inspect the budget document at any time. And then we're gonna publish the notice of the public hearing this week, and then the public hearing and the board approval will take place on the 24th. So we can go through this. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions or items that they found that they wanna get any clarification on. We spent a lot of time putting it together, a lot of feedback from the various departments, a lot of review by the mayor, which is much appreciated. So I don't know if there's any questions. I know I talk kind of fast, so.
Oh, that's okay. So I don't, Nick, do you wanna go over maybe a few of the, I know sometimes the numbers, you get lost in the weeds, but it's just some of the positive things, maybe we can talk about what we're doing.
Sure. Just to reiterate, what was said in the presentation, our fund balance is strong. We have a policy, but we're above that. The increase in our fund balance is an improvement over last year, which is always a good thing, and that's a lot of reasons for that. Being more conscious of what we're budgeting, but also increased revenue. The travel center, I know, is a lot of people ask that question, and it's a combination of factors. We don't have the exact numbers on each one of them, but there's the gas that's sold there, we get 2 cents a gallon. There's the truck parking, there's the, as Anne Marie said, the incremental property tax revenue. But there's also property taxes, sales tax, and then the future hotel. So that's all a good thing, and we've talked about previous meetings about needing more revenue from businesses, especially along 57, where it's probably the greatest potential for growth. That revenue offsets the need for taxes on our local property taxpayers. So when we talk about other non-property tax revenue, that's what we're talking about, those businesses. And obviously we have some businesses coming into the downtown, which is also very helpful. And that's important for our long-term sustainability. The police pension is also a big thing, I think, over the last years. This board has worked together, and we're funding that, so 52% is, 52.7% is a good number. You don't need to be 100%, because not everybody's retiring at the same time, but getting above that 52% or higher is a good thing. And we're doing a number of these projects, which the Conrad Street's gonna be a big one. We're gonna approve that tonight, hopefully. And we have the money for the sidewalks, which we haven't decided exactly what that looks like, but we have that money budgeted. So, I don't, if there's specific questions or anything people like, don't like, now's a good time just so we can plan for this budget or in the future, other things to look for.
I think everybody's done a great job working on this budget, putting in a lot of feedback. I mean, we've been on a trend that I can see the last few years, and really have the finances in order. This budget really tells a story of positive momentum for the village. When you go over it, there's a lot in a budget, especially for a municipality, but when you talk about the police pension funding and what's happened with that over the years and where we're at today, that's definitely positive momentum. And you know, the fact that we continue to do the projects and we've got the revenue to do those projects and are always looking to find more. But I mean, I think the future looks good for Peatone. We got a lot of things going on, and like I say, I really see the positive momentum. Everybody did a good job.
Yeah, I wanted to point out just a couple of things as far as with the downtown, just to keep the momentum going there. We did budget some money for a facade improvement program, so hopefully business owners that, you know, see how nice the street is, and they want to fix up the front of their building, we are going to have a program that will help them do that. We also budgeted a pretty good chunk of change for landscaping to keep that area, you know, looking nice, to have all those pots that we purchased planted throughout the year, and just maintain the landscaping in general. So those are just a couple of highlights. Like I said, I think everybody did a nice job on coming together with this budget, and the fact that we're budgeting a positive fund balance, I think is a pretty big deal for the village. Any questions specifically trustees have? If not, we will have a public hearing next meeting, and then approve the budget. The new fiscal year starts April 1st, so.
And the budget that you approved that night will have the change in it for the patrol officer.
Sure,
So you'll
okay.
see slightly different numbers.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have a new business registration application for Dom's Dogs, 908 West Wilmington Road in Peatone. I see representatives here today from there, so you want to come on up and just introduce yourself to the board and tell us kind of what you guys plan up.
All right. My name is Dominic Caesar. This is my wife, Rhiannon Caesar. We have another business that we're starting in Peatone, down here in downtown. It's a handicraft store, and my wife owns a business in Green Gardens. She's had that for 12, 16 years now?
14?
14 years, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
And so we're looking to just kind of expand, you know, what we have available to us, and bring some more change, more food offerings really to the town, and what we feel is a pretty good location.
What will you be serving besides, I'm guessing hot dogs, but?
Sure,
anything else?
hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, steak sandwiches, ice cream, probably some soup and
Possibly pizza.
yeah, pizza as well. We're kicking that around that idea right now. So pretty much anything you might find at like a Chicago style hot dog restaurant. So we'll have some special items too that we're developing, but we'll have basically like your fast food type things through there. Chicago style hot dogs through Vienna Beef. My wife and I are both we're both graduates of Vienna Beef Hot Dog University. So it's a course that we took straight with Vienna Beef, and that's how to handle hot dogs, the history, how to run that business and such. And as a side note, my first job actually was at Steamer's Hot Dogs in Homer Glen. So I've got a long hot dog hot dog history, yeah. So,
And then you guys will also be serving alcohol, possibly?
we'd like to, we'll do a game in there for
Just
that
like
as well.
mixed drinks and beer,
Beer, yeah, not really, not like we do mixed drinks,
Okay.
just, beer and wine, I guess.
So I just want to make it clear, like tonight, we are just approving business registration for the hot dogs. There's another process for
That's right.
a liquor license and
And
for
all that
gaming, so that's not on the table tonight.
Correct.
Are you gonna reopen the drive-through?
Yes. Yes, yeah, this is gonna be extensive, there's gonna be a lot of cost involved in this, redoing of the entire parking lot. We actually have sanitary issues right now with our pipes going outside. They've gotten crossed by utilities and actually have been backing up. Their pipes are crushed, so we've got to incur some costs to repair those outside. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed up in and around that entire property and building, so. But we've got all of our estimates out there from different companies and ready to start making some moves. So.
When do you anticipate opening?
Looking maybe April, May, trying to beat summer, get in for summer, because, like our vision for it's really like a hop.
Like a community hub, you
Yeah.
know, because it's right in a central part of town. We'll have picnic tables and everything outside for people to congregate.
Yeah. Golf cart parking, gotta put that in there.
Yeah.
So, maybe like show some movies during the summertime out on a big projector screen, just kind of bring the community in together. I just remember a place, like, there was a place by me, where we'd ride our bikes over to it, and we'd get our hot dogs there, we'd sit outside, we'd pick the picnic table, and, that was one of the things growing up as a kid for me, that, why they've always kind of stuck with me, is like a fun place to go, it's a nice community place where, so.
Good. Any other questions from the board?
Did I read we had about 10 to 12 employees, or did I not read that correctly?
Probably, no, not at one time. I
Okay,
think it's
okay.
like 4 to 5.
Okay, alright, that's good.
And again, with that, trying to hire from,
Oh,
maybe.
that's where I saw, okay, got it.
Maybe some first jobs for some kids in the community.
All right.
Cashier.
That's perfect, I read 10 to 12 hours per day, and then I see it 4 to 6, so that's
okay.
perfect, okay.
Yeah, not
Thanks.
quite sure on exactly how many employees we'll need,
Yeah.
because especially like with maybe adding
Yeah, we gotta get
adding
into
the
it a little
pizza
bit.
and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
we might need the need for more, but. Sure.
Alright, thanks.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for
Is
your time,
there a
everyone.
motion to
Thank you.
approve?
Motion.
Second,
It's been moved by trustee Maravka, second by trustee Richards.
Trustee Hudson,
Yes.
trustee Maravka,
Yes.
trustee Richard,
yes.
trustee Sandberg,
Yes.
trustee Sluse,
Yes.
trustee Sturba,
Yes. Item F, motion to award bid for Conrad Street storm sewer improvements to Iroquois Paving Corporation. Troy, you wanna give us the update?
Sure, the bids were open on February 27th. There were 5 bids received, which is pretty good for typically, normally it's a little less than that, so. The low bid was from Iroquois Paving, it came in at $815,457.08, which was just 1.6% higher, a little bit higher than our estimate. But, most of the bids were in that same range, other than the last one was high, like 1.3 million you see on there. So Iroquois, did everything right with their bid, so, I believe the village wants to move forward with awarding to the low bidder.
Any questions for Troy?
We've worked with them before, right? Yeah.
Way back, yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing, just to remind you, we've talked about this previously, Troy and I, we've talked to the school, and the goal of this is to fit this in after school ends and before school starts, so that we have the least amount of disruption to the community, but especially the school, because that school exits there and goes, I think, north, but this is right in that area, so we gave them a window, and we think it's gonna work, so but the school appreciated us working with them on that too, so.
Yep, so we'll work with them on, start date, and we schedule a pre-construction meeting in a month or two.
Any other questions? Not, entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second. Moved by trustee Sandberg, second by trustee Sturba.
trustee Trustee Maravka?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Sturba?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
All right, item G is approve a resolution approving the submittal of certificate of authority and to purchase bulk rock salt through the Illinois Department of Central Management Services. This would be resolution 25-R-5.
So this is pretty simple. This is just, as a smaller community, obviously if we were to buy rock salt ourselves, it would probably be more costly. So the state offers like a consortium of communities buy rock salt together. So we're committing to a target of 300 tons. We have to take at least 80% of that, but we can go up to 120% of that number. Last year's price was $66.64 per ton. So just using that as kind of a guesstimate, we're looking at about 21,000 contingent on bidding prices. But this is a good way for the village to manage something we need to purchase, but do it maybe more cost effectively. So this just authorizes us to participate in the program, and then I've been told by our public works manager that we collect, or we get deliveries as needed, but it's a good thing, so.
Good.
Questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Moved by trustee Sturba, second by trustee Sandberg.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Sturba?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Maravka?
Yes.
On to item H, motion to approve Peatone Travel Center letter of credit reduction request number 3. So, Troy and Nick wants to handle this one.
Do it.
Go ahead.
So there's, for the letter credit, which was started back in, I don't know, 2022 maybe, there's been 2 reductions already. So the current amount left was $367,425. They wanted to reduce it all the way down to about 10,000, but we had some comments with we found a few items that they still need to fix up or complete, and just a couple of little investigation items we want. And they they revised their estimate and agreed to raise the amount that they're gonna keep in their letter of credit to $67,177.25.
So can you just give a 1-minute summary of what a letter of credit is?
Thank you.
Sure. So when the development I'm not an expert on this, but you could correct me. So when the development goes in, they get a letter of credit from a bank, which is a sum of money, which is supposed to be equal to all the infrastructure improvements that need to be done for the site. So if for some reason the developer walked away, the village can draw on that letter of credit to use that money to finish the infrastructure.
Sound good?
Exactly correct.
Okay.
Good job, Troy.
Any other questions? Okay, entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve.
Moved by trustee Hudson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Does it have the
Sluse.
amount that it's being reduced to? You wanna make sure you get that in there, so.
Yeah, so where is it at?
It's in the letter, yeah.
67,177.25.
There you go, so
That's the balance.
that would be, so we're reducing it by $300,247.75. And there'll be $67,177.25 left.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Sturba?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Maravka?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
All right, last item I is discussion about building department practices and policies. We had a kind of issue come up, and go ahead, Nick.
So this is more just bringing this to the board's attention, and probably have more discussion in the future, but we previous to today, we had 2 contractors who had paid a permit for the entire plan review, permit, and inspections. One of those, the resident who had hired the vendor decided not to go forward with the project. So they had, the village had expended some money to BNF because we are charged by them to do the services and the permit fee pays. So now the project's not going forward, and they were asking about refunds. So there was two issues. One of them got resolved with the owner and the contractor, but the question is, in looking at the village code, it actually says for permits, when it's speaking about permits expiring, that there are no refunds for building permits and inspection fees. But this may be something in the future we wanna look at. In my kind of take or history, it's like, if we, the village, have put money out to our contractor, we shouldn't be obviously subsidizing projects. However, if there's money that was paid that has not been expended, we may wanna consider refunding that in the future, but right now our code doesn't seem to allow that. So that's kind of the issue that started to drive this. So that's something, and as I was going through the code, there's like a lot of places, there's things that are dated or we've changed titles and things, so I think it may be a good exercise to go through some of these sections of the code and maybe just update titles, like when we're talking about the alley and streets and alley, a supervisor, or we're referencing the building department. I mean, we know it's the community development, but since one of these was resolved, it's kind of lessened the fact that there is still one that's out there, but I think what our position may want to be, or my recommendation to you is, the contractor needs to work with the person who wanted to do the project. They need to, pay for what's been expended and not the village, because we've kind of related to this, and I just touch on this, I've talked to you a little bit before, is we've found that there are, not only we have some concerns about things that maybe are getting charged to us that exceed what the permit covered. So I wanna make sure that I know that I can tell you, if $1,000 was spent on a project and the village paid BNF $1,000, we're getting $1,000 back. And if we're not doing that, that's a policy decision you all make, that are we getting full recovery or not? So that's a second issue. And then the last issue, I just want to compliment, because she's here tonight, Diane Nielsen is doing a great job is auditing previous bills. This is a good thing for her, bad thing maybe for the village, is she has found a number of incorrect billings that just we've been overcharged or mischarged for whatever reason, and so we're getting credits back on those, and she continues to find a little bit here, a little bit there, and it's several $100s already, so I want to just compliment her publicly, but that's something we want to make sure, hopefully it's not happening at all going forward, but, so this was more of an FYI for you all, but I also just, if there's any thoughts on that, so that I can work on proposals to bring back to you. And this one last tie-in is with our building department training, I think is going to make us really take a look, deeper dive into what our process is currently and how we can improve it. So I think that will be the impetus to go forward and maybe revisit the code and maybe improvements or so. But any thoughts right now, I guess?
I'm really not aware of any municipality that gives money back for a project that don't move forward. I mean, I've never heard of that before. If you decide not to move forward with the project, that's on you. I think it should be something that we can bring up at our next building committee meeting.
Well, most of the time, the contractor gets a down payment from whoever they're working for.
Yeah.
And, shame on them if they don't get enough to cover what they're putting out. I mean, it's just a commitment that's made, and, we can talk and ask about it, but that's why it's the way it is. I commend you on finding the bills, and that's something, hopefully, after we go through this process, that we get better and we have better checks and balances on, where to check, where this money is coming and going, and, that doesn't happen, so we're, that's the whole idea. We wanna improve that.
Well, and the other, I know when I was at the county, people would sometimes appeal to get refunds, and the board usually voted it down because there's a cost to having our staff participating in the process, and we don't seek profits in this, we're seeking to be a service. All the residents pay taxes and businesses pay taxes to have our staff on hand, but if you're going above that, it's a user fee to get a permit or whatever, and so, that's my only thing is, I want to at least be very clear on, it's not profit generating, it's cost recovery, and, in this case, we've spent time and treasure on our staff processing these and working with our consultants, so.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm hearing from the board
Yeah.
and from you is that, our policy, the way we have it right now, maybe it needs to be, even spelled out a little better, that if a project doesn't move forward, it's not, there's no refunds.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're not going to, not sure your project's gonna move forward, then you probably shouldn't file a permit until you're
Yeah,
ready to move
we
forward.
need to look at it and look at the wording.
Right.
Yeah.
And there might be an instance where, something happens out of
Right.
everybody's,
Hardship case or
a
something.
hardship case, exactly, then, then we might all feel better if we do refund some of
Yeah,
it,
That's
so.
right. That's why I thought it was good to have that discussion, so.
Yeah.
And moving forward, we are going to be looking at the building codes coming up here. So, it's just something to highlight.
It's all kind of, the stars are aligning to kind of just do some continuous quality improvement, right, so. Okay.
Any other comments on that? All right. Questions of the press? Okay. Any other correspondence from the board, communications?
I was just going to remind everybody that the Cash Bash for the Pantone Post Prom is coming up. It's going to be April 5th. Tickets are $120 for a couple. You get to win a lot of money, and there's games, and all the proceeds go to help do the post-prom, after-prom for the kids in the high school, Pantone High School. Winner does not need to be present, and donations for baskets would be much appreciated, and you can contact Angela Griskoviak or the Pantone High School, not me. That's all.
Yeah.
One other thing, and I didn't ask Stacy beforehand, but if you haven't done your statement of economic interest, please do that. It's coming due, and if you need help, I will send out to all the board members. IML put out a nice multi-page document that explains what's what on that.
Questions?
I did have some questions from our planning and zoning commission members who also were required to file that, and they were concerned
It's
about.
May 1st, right?
It's May 1st, right, I think, so, yeah, so you've got a little bit of time, but I just wanted to remind you, because it's for a lot of us, it's not applicable or none, but you just wanna make sure you fill that out correctly and get it done, so.
Thank you.
Branch pickup, do you recall when that starts? I know Bob said it last time, but I just wanted, is it April or the end of
No,
March?
it's in April.
April.
April's
April
coming, isn't it?
2nd, or is it later?
I think it's that, but April, we'll announce that at our next board meeting, but yeah, so I guess don't start piling up your sticks yet on the curb, you can pick them up, put them by the side of the house, and then when it's times comes, you can move them out to the parkway.
Yeah, we got lawn and leaf bags coming up too, probably, with Homewood.
Yeah, that starts, when does that start?
Beginning of
I- I-
April,
Is that
yeah.
April?
Just
Yeah,
got it in the mail.
yeah. Okay. All right. No, nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by trustee Maravka, second by trustee Sturba, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.